Welcome to the channel, guys. It is finally a half decent day out. It was sunny earlier, but it's kind of cloudy now, but it's not too bad temperature wise out here, and it is not 50-mile-an-hour winds either, so going good that way for the weather, and hopefully we continue to progress forward with getting warmer and springtime can work its way here. So getting right into it, as you can see, there is nothing under the car anymore. And popping the hood here, obviously the motor is obviously out, and big wiring mess over here. Luckily everything is marked, as I said in the past video. So going over here into the shed, we got so much done, a lot more than what I was thinking was going to get done, which is great, which is awesome, but still a lot left to do and a lot more things to get and everything else like that. So just gonna kind of do an overview of us pulling, or of myself pulling the motor out and everything. Basically the way these cars are designed is like a standard, just a regular car. Like you would pull the engine, you'd remove the hood, and you'd lift the engine out with an engine hoist. These cars are designed that you drop the subframe, which obviously I did, and it is actually over here in the pile right there. So the way it's designed is you drop the subframe and then you pull off your engine mounts and your tranny mounts. Right here's an engine mount, and then you have a tranny mount right there behind that stuff, and with the engine hoist on it, then you slowly lower it to the ground. And in doing that, I kind of like that. One reason I do like it is you can drop everything. So the tranny is still actually hooked to the motor. I didn't do anything with that. So the engine came out with everything on it. Superchargers on it. Coolant hoses are obviously still on it, everything. The tranny is on it. And really, I just pulled me and Kyle actually just pulled off the subframe a little bit ago, like within a day or two ago. So we just pulled that off. Originally, I had the subframe still intact to the motor with the engine mount and the tranny mount and all that stuff still on it. So basically, we removed that, got that off so it could kind of give me a little bit more room in the shed there to work. And so really, you could leave all that on. You could leave everything. You could technically leave your part of your exhaust if you wanted to. You could leave the axles on, the control arms are still on. All this stuff is still, you could have left it on and just dropped everything. I've seen people just leave the shocks on and everything. You can drop everything really, but I wanted a little bit less weight and everything, so that's why I dropped it this way. So jumping into what's done so far, basically I believe we removed the exhaust manifold, obviously the manifold shield and everything, pulled out the subframe from there, and also we got bolts and everything. And I actually used motor mounts for these, not motor mounts, but body mounts from a different vehicle, just because they went in holes and they just needed nuts on the back. So that worked out fine for that, and got the bolts for this to screw into the block. So we got that mounted onto the engine stand so I can begin to work and build the motor. And hopefully in the next video I will be doing the drain pan, the oil pan. We'll get that mounted, and we'll probably start disassembling this engine a little bit more. I haven't got too involved with doing it right now, as I do have more parts coming for the car. So they should be coming in, I'm hoping this week maybe. Hopefully it's not going to take as long as the block and all that stuff. But here you can see the stuff that we did remove so far. This was just the vent, which was disconnected anyway, and obviously the exhaust part of it, which I will not be reusing, and obviously just the shield. So not too much has come off of the motor so far. but there's definitely going to be more here and there coming off, and I do have to send in my stock head to ZZP because of the core charge. So hopefully I can start getting this engine built, and I have been leaving the plastic on. But one thing I do want to point out, one thing that I do want to do is these balance shafts here that go into the motor, I'm going to be replacing those with neutral balance shafts. I'm just thinking that's going to be a much better route to go. I'm not planning on having the car extremely high RPMs, but you never know. And just because it's already open, the block is already, they're right there. They're going to be really easy to pull out and throw new ones in. So rather than try and do it later and wait, that's just dumb. So I'm just going to do it now and get it over with. So you may be asking yourself or thinking while you're watching this video, I want to do this, want to take my car and do this. I have a Cobalt, want to do this, want to take my motor out. How do I do it? Where do I go? Well, first things first is, like I said in past videos, be sure to check out the other videos first. And because I kind of did sort of a step-by-step, not too detailed, but obviously you're gonna have to disconnect all your wires and everything and mark everything. Mark every single possible thing that you can, because it's gonna save you a lot of time in the long run, and you'll thank me later for it. Next thing, before you even get started with removing the engine or thinking about removing the engine, you're gonna want to take off your front bumpers and everything like that, obviously. Before you even do that, get yourself a whole bunch of bags. Got these $1 from the dollar store, $1 for 20 bags, really cheap. Then you want it to every single bolt that you take out ever from anywhere, either screw it back in so you know where it goes, or put it in a bag and label it. That's the second thing. That's gonna help you a lot, and you'll thank me later for. The next thing that you want to do, besides marking all your wires and marking everything and taping everything and closing everything up that you don't want to get dirt or anything in, then what you can begin to do is you can start disconnecting wires. So what I did, like let's say this plug was plugged into somewhere, I would tape this, mark it, and tape and mark the other end as well. So then that one's done, and so on and so forth, and you keep doing that. Then what you need to do is you have to remove the fuse box. And obviously the fuse box is inside, but this is where the fuse box was. This is the housing that holds the fuse box, and it sits in there like so. And you got to have a bolt there and a bolt. There's a bolt and a nut, I believe. So you're going to have to remove that. And these plugs, you obviously loosen the screws on the top. There's screws that go into it. And it's really not that bad. You just want to take your time with everything. But if you've ever, which most likely if you've done anything with a car, you've had the fuse box open at least once. Let me move all my junk around here. So as you can see, the fuse box here has these bolts that go down through the top of it. And they go all the way down in, which I have it all taped up now and obviously marked, but they go down into those plugs. So really you loosen those all the way up until there's a little bit of resistance, and then you can flip it over. And what I did before I even pulled the screws completely out of the plugs, because they will stay in the bottom there, I left them just a little bit in and pulled the whole thing and pulled the plugs out myself. That way they were loose from both sides and I didn't have to mess with it. And then when I got the screws loose from the plugs were loose completely. So it was a lot easier that way. And then you're gonna wanna basically pull off a lot like this right here, your inner fender wall and everything like that. You're gonna wanna pull that out. I pulled all the suspension components out, which I showed in one of the last videos. Tied the brake calipers up on both sides so they're not hanging by the brake line. And then you're obviously gonna have to remove, now this isn't like the specific order that you're gonna have to go, but you're gonna have to remove the bolt from the steering linkage there and the knuckle there. Also, you're gonna have to remove your shift cables, which they just pop off. You kind of have to push up on them and make sure you kind of know which one goes where, which I also marked that and wrote that down. And if you run into any problems along the way, be sure to take notes, because it's going to help you in the long run, and you don't want to try and find out later that you need to do that and it's a plug that a wire you have to redo or something stupid like that when you already have the motor in and everything and it's a wire you can't get to. So make sure you take notes of everything. That way you have it on record. And you're going to want to remove your coolant reservoir and everything. And once you do all that, you're going to remove basically the bowls. I left the subframe on, as I said. Some people drop it first. The best thing that I can say to do, which I used it a little bit, but especially for putting everything back together, is if you go to one of your local auto stores, you can even order them online. I got this at Advance Auto. It's the Haynes repair manual. Now that'll give you everything. I mean, it'll help you actually as far as taking apart your engine. It'll help you removing engine, has engine removal in there, the tranny shift cable removal, all that stuff. Drive axle oil seal replacement. It literally has everything in here. And the biggest thing that I wanted that book for was the torque specs. It has torque specs for pretty much everything in there. The book is really detailed, shows pictures in there as well. So if you don't want to attempt this at all, I don't blame you, because there is a lot to do with it. So just be sure you at least do it a little bit organized. And that's why I recommend doing it how I did it, as far as labeling everything and putting everything in bags. So then when I go to put everything back together, I know where everything goes. And also, if you want to take pictures along the entire way so you know where everything is, where everything goes, how everything's routed, what line goes to what. Great, do that. I have done that a little bit. I've marked more things than I've taken pictures of, just for the simple fact, if it's marked, it's visible. And I took most of it apart. Kyle helped me here and there. So I kind of know where everything is and where everything goes. So if you have any questions, if you're attempting to do this or you want to do this, or you have any questions on my build, any questions about the car, anything that you would recommend I do, anything you want to see on this car, be sure to drop it below. Ask your questions below, whatever the case may be. Leave it in the comment sections. I'll try to respond whenever I can and answer whatever you may have. And if it's any questions of what did I do with this, or how do you remove this, anything, whatever it is, just let it below. I'll be sure to respond. So that's basically going to be it. Like I said, in the next video, we'll probably try and do the oil pan and get that mounted, and hopefully we can get those parts and get the engine start assembly underway. And like I said, I'm probably going to be doing the balance shafts, the neutral balance shafts from ZZP. So if you are doing something like this with a Cobalt or anything, be sure to check out ZZP's website. I'll put the link in the description, because they have a lot of great stuff. Now, they're not going to have every single part you're going to need. As far as like the drain pan, I had to order that somewhere else. They didn't have that. They do have a turbo drain pan, which is practically the same thing if you ask me. But anyway, be sure to check out their website. I'll leave the link below. Be sure to subscribe. Check out some of the past videos of this build and of the Ram. There's going to be more coming to the Ram. I probably will order some parts for the Ram actually tonight. So hopefully I'll have those maybe this week, next week, something like that. And we can get that stuff installed. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Any questions, like I said, be sure to leave them below. Click that subscribe button. Have a great day.